In this video, we will be describing the mesial aspect of the permanent maxillary first molar. Let's have a look at the acrylic specimen first. From this aspect, you can appreciate the classical increase in the buccolingual width compared to that of the mesiodistal width, which is better appreciated when you look at it from the occlusal aspect. From the occlusal aspect, you can make out that the tooth is buccolingually wider than the mesiodistal dimension, which you can appreciate by comparing the buccal and the mesial aspect respectively. There are three aspects that you should understand: the buccal outline, the lingual outline, and the mesial surface itself. Let's look at the buccal outline first. The buccal outline shows a characteristic convexity at the cervical third, followed by a concavity and again a convexity. The very first convexity that you see at the cervical third is the crest of curvature that you see buccally. From the buccal aspect, you appreciate this crest at the cervical third, which is prominent from the mesial aspect. The concavity that you see in the middle is actually the resultant of the developmental depression that you see mesiodistally at the end of the buccal groove. Following this, another convexity ends at the mesiobuccal cusp tip, which is well within the root dimension of this particular tooth. Lingually, the contour is much more rounded, with the crest of curvature at the middle of the middle third. If the cusp of carabili is very prominent, you will find a notching that you appreciate from this aspect. Following this, the mesiolingual cusp tip is much more within the root trunk compared to the mesiobuccal cusp tip. Coming to the mesial surface, when you look at the mesial surface, the contact point is roughly at the junction of middle and occlusal third, which is the same which you noted from the buccal aspect. Above the contact point, in this region, you may find a concavity, which you can appreciate by tilting the specimen to an angle, and you can appreciate the concavity here. The buccal and the lingual cusp have the mesial slopes in continuation with that of the mesial marginal ridge. This mesial marginal ridge dips towards the cervix roughly 1/5 the cervico-occlusal width. Let's have a look at these features on the specimen. You can appreciate the convexity, concavity, and convexity, and the mesiobuccal cusp tip is well within the mesiobuccal root. You have convexity on the lingual aspect with the crest of curvature in the middle of the middle third, and the mesiolingual cusp tip well within the confines of the root. You can see two prominent roots from this aspect: the mesiobuccal root and the palatal root. The distobuccal root is much smaller and cannot be appreciated from this aspect. The mesiobuccal root is roughly 2/3 the width of the tooth buccolingually. The bifurcation level is more towards the cervix, and there is a developmental depression which goes along the lingual outline of the mesiobuccal root, goes lingually up to the cervical line. So if you tilt the specimen, you can appreciate the developmental depression in this region going lingually. The buccal outline of the mesiobuccal root is roughly straight, ends at a blunt apex, which is roughly in line with the mesiobuccal cusp tip. The palatal root is much more slender than the mesiobuccal root. It is longer, moves outward from the lingual-most outline of the crown, and ends in a blunt apex. The cervical line dips towards the occlusal surface in the middle. From the distal aspect, the dip is less prominent. From the mesial aspect, the cervical line dips much more occlusally. These are the features of the tooth from the mesial aspect.